Have you ever watched someone who, without raising their voice or even moving fast, seems to bend the whole room in their favor? They do not plead, threaten, or explain. They just step back, go quiet, and in a split second the mood around them shifts. People lean in, wonder what is happening, and start chasing answers. Now picture yourself doing exactly that, choosing stillness instead of the knee-jerk reply, stepping aside instead of bursting out. What do you think would unfold? The real turning point appears the instant you stop being forever on call, emotionally, physically, and mentally. The circle around you is used to steering you through your predictable reactions, counting on your need to respond right away. Yet the day you decide to pull back, their game board flips. Those who once felt they knew every inch of your mind notice, almost with panic, that they understand very little about you after all. Carl Jung put it plainly, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. Pause and let that sink in. When you turn yourself unreachable, who exactly starts feeling uneasy? Who tries to poke, prod, and stir you up just to squeeze out a feeling? Their effort shows more about them than about you, and it exposes how easily your strings are still being yanked without your seeing it. You keep handing pieces of yourself away, agreeing to keep the peace, racing to reply so nobody thinks you are rude, clinging to people who deep down were never truly beside you. After each forced yes and every instant answer, what remains? Fatigue, quiet frustration, and a hollow space you can't quite name. The cause is simple. You are too available for folks who do not even merit a minute of your restful silence. This whole talk is not an invitation to turn your back on humanity. It is an invitation to remember you have a choice. Jung called that long road back to yourself individuation, becoming whole, authentic, and real. The first step on that road is understanding that calm can outweigh 1,000 heated arguments, and stepping away when done from awareness instead of fear is a display of pure strength. So look right into this moment and ask yourself, how long will you allow the feelings of others to run your life? How often will you dance like a puppet each time someone taps your old wounds? Maybe the wires need to be cut today. Maybe a bit of mystery needs to return. Because once you stop being permanently within reach, the whole landscape begins to rearrange itself. Since you were young, you were trained to answer fast, to please, to nod yes, even when every cell wanted to shout no. Teachers, relatives, and friends tied your value to how quickly you could be accessed. Yet here is a truth many people never say outright. Non-stop availability is not a medal, it is a cage. As long as you treat constant accessibility as a duty, you will be squeezed, drained, and then forgotten the moment you cannot serve a purpose. Why? Because being ever present makes you predictable, and whatever is predictable turns into a tool. People press that tool like an emotional panic button. They reach for it when they crave attention, relief, or quick validation, then toss it back on the shelf. You may not notice because you're living in the illusion that if you show up for everyone, someone will finally show up for you. Life rarely works that way. Jung spoke of the persona, an outer mask we wear to be liked and praised. That same mask holds you in place as the always-on helper. You say, "I'm fine," while you're gasping for air. You answer texts the moment they arrive. Even when your body begs for rest, you explain, justify, and defend yourself as if the entire world issued you a debt notice. Meanwhile, every time you put yourself center stage for other people's drama, you slip further out of your own story. Endless availability is a subtle form of self-neglect. It is a hidden chase for approval, a way to dodge rejection, a bid to steer how others label you. That control demands payment, and the payment is your peace. Your life energy is doled out as if it were an unlimited fountain, when in truth it is anything but. Those demanding you on call 24/7 do not truly want you. They want what flows through you: attention, company, distraction, emotional soothing. Set a boundary or choose silence and watch them bristle. They may claim you are acting strange. You are not different. You have only stopped being useful to their script. Here comes the harshest twist. The more open you are, the less you are treasured. What shows up in endless supply is treated like a disposable rag. People rarely respect what did not cost them effort, and they rarely value what they can grab any moment. So pause. Think clearly. Who has earned your time? Who has earned your hearing, your presence, your silent company? Perhaps more importantly, who has earned your absence? Before answering, we need to look at the core question. Why do we react so quickly? Why do we cave with almost no pause? Behind that reflex sits what Jung called psychic energy. And that is exactly where we are heading in the following section, because that energy is everything you possess, and if you fail to shield it, someone will surely turn it against you. If what you are hearing resonates, feel free to tap subscribe and stay with this journey. Your support means a lot. Jung never viewed the mind as a mindless gadget triggered by outside events without consequence. He pictured our inner world as a living energy system. Every thought, feeling, and movement pulls from that system. The real issue is this. Are you steering where your energy pours, or are you letting the outside world set the taps wide open? Each impulsive reaction is a leak. When you defend yourself against a casual critique that didn't deserve a breath, when you fire back at a provocation just to look right, when you drift into endless debates, or when you keep trying to satisfy those who will not notice your effort, you drain the core that should be fueling your life. Jung reminded us, that which you resist persists. The more you push back at every tiny thing, the thicker the ropes grow around you. People who stagger through their days exhausted aren't weak. They are simply sending their life current down the wrong channels. And do you know what follows constant exhaustion? Vulnerability. When you feel empty, you become easy to sway. Manipulative, opportunistic, and emotionally hungry individuals can pick up on it faster than you think. They notice you do not guard your energy, that you react to anything, that you are forever trying to mend the world. They step in and make use of that free flow for their own ends. Stop for a second and notice how far we have traveled in this single conversation, all without raising our voices or trading blame. We looked at how silence can command a room, how stepping back rewrites the unwritten rules, and how constant accessibility keeps you locked in patterns that do not serve you. We touched on the persona, on the hidden cost of pleasing, and on the truth that people respect what they must earn. Most of all, we started to see psychic energy as limited and precious. Each reaction, each hasty yes, each late-night apology message chips away at the power you need to build your own life. Guard it. Choose where it flows. And remember, once you stop being endlessly available, everything, truly everything, begins to change. Carl Jung pointed out that a balanced mind knows how to keep its life force circulating inside rather than leaking away. That skill shows up in small, practical moves, saying no without carrying a backpack of guilt, remaining quiet without labeling yourself weak, pausing to watch before you decide to move. Real strength lives in the choice of when and how to act, not in a string of knee-jerk reactions. And that kind of choice exists only once you know yourself well enough to spot your own surges of impulse. Count the evenings you have lain awake, replaying a half-finished talk, the hours you have spent dissecting what you might have answered, the days you have wasted asking why someone treated you badly. All of that mental theater is power flowing out with no return. You keep nursing along scenes that should have closed long ago, and feeding storylines that breathe only because you keep responding to them. Psychic energy works like a protective field. Guarded well, it turns into presence. You walk into a space, and respect follows even if you keep your voice down. Managed poorly, that same energy thins out and you are left anxious, brittle, and almost invisible. And the world rarely shows mercy to anyone who folds at the first push. Start noticing the precise sparks that trigger you. What words, gestures, or tones make you answer on autopilot? What comments shove you off center without warning? Those fault lines are where your energy sneaks out, and that is exactly where the work must happen. Not to turn yourself stone cold or uncaring, but to become picky, to rule over your own system. Here we reach one of Jung's most revealing insights. The moment you hold on to your energy, you interrupt the projections other people plaster onto you, and that single act disturbs many of them deeply. We are about to step into a shadowy zone, the realm of quiet manipulation. And in the following section, you will see how opportunists feed on the fuel you spill and why stepping back leaves their games in ruins. Prepare to face the ones who have siphoned you without your notice. You may think you steer your own reactions, that each emotional burst is a free choice, yet a darker picture sits behind the curtain. Most of the time, those responses are pre-programmed, and anyone who understands the pattern can guide you with almost no effort. They do not need to shout, threaten, or use force. They simply press the exposed buttons you never learned to shield, and you comply on cue. Jung named the basic mechanism projection. People tossing outward what they refuse to confront inside themselves. There is a second layer. While others project, you serve as the blank screen receiving those images, and the more available you remain, the clearer that screen appears to them. Think about the friend who reaches out only in a meltdown, the partner who needs rescuing every week, the colleague who flatters you right up until your usefulness ends. None of it happens by coincidence. They are not really dealing with you, they are engaging with the part you agreed to play. And why do you accept the role? Fear. Fear of letting someone down, of losing affection, of being left alone. The strongest form of control isn't delivered through loud threats, it blossoms in the silent soil of guilt. You feel you owe them comfort, help, endless understanding, even when those demands bleed you dry. Notice the crucial twist. The manipulator need not steer your every move. They only need you to keep reacting the same familiar way. Stop reacting. Start saying no, answer with silence, leave instead of explaining. And the illusion cracks. The mask they stuck on you falls aside, tossing them into confusion because now they have no idea who stands before them. Worse still, your refusal forces them to face their own reflection, and many are not equipped for that. Your absence upsets them because it forces them to confront an inner hollowness they have long dodged. Your quiet removes their power to direct the storyline, and that gap terrifies anyone who lives off your compliance. So brace yourself for backlash, the criticism, the melodrama, the sudden accusations. They appear not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped being an easy mirror. Jung wrote, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you refuse to fuel the old cycle, the other person's hidden side begins to surface, and facing that darkness can be unbearable for someone who has always used you as a way to escape. Now turn the lens toward yourself. Can you handle being misunderstood, pushed aside, or even attacked for defending your own edges? Can you sit with the uneasy quiet that follows a clean break? That quiet is exactly where a different strain of power germinates, and that is what we are about to explore. In the upcoming portion, we will uncover why silence can become the most disarming force in any psychological exchange, and how it flips the dynamic between you and everyone else. Noise dominates modern life. People rush to be heard, leap to answer, scramble to win random arguments, and cling to being right, even if the prize is their own peace of mind. Yet there exists a strength so subtle that few recognize it, and even fewer practice it, the strength of silence. This is not the hush of giving up or hiding, it is silence chosen with clear eyes, strategic, precise, sharply aware. It is the kind of quiet that is not emptiness, but an expanded presence. Jung treated silence as fertile ground for inner rewiring. The instant you stop responding, you switch into observation mode, and observation exposes patterns you missed before. Recycled emotions, manipulative loops, self-defeating habits. Quiet grants clarity, and clarity proves dangerous to anyone who thrives on steering you. Have you noticed how certain people nearly panic when you do not reply, when you refuse to spell yourself out, when you simply step off the radar? Their alarm rarely signals missing your company. What bothers them is the loss of their script control. While you talk, you are still part of the script. When you fall silent, you rewrite the rules, knocking off balance anyone addicted to your predictable comeback. True silence is not the absence of words, it is ownership of your current. It is deciding not to be swept away by someone else's storm. It is turning down battles that are too costly for what little they yield. Jung taught that individuation, the lifelong work of becoming your real self, demands distance. Only in quiet can you catch the soft pulse of your own voice, free from the surrounding uproar. Expect a cost, though. Silence will thin out your circle, separating those who valued you for genuine connection from those who only saw your utility. You will seem distant to people who never tried to hear your depth, and you may be labeled cold or aloof. Understand those labels reveal more about their discomfort than about any flaw in you. Maturity gradually narrows the doorway through which your words step. The more you grow, the more you treat each sentence like a deliberate investment of energy, and you realize that not everyone has earned the currency of your truth. Sometimes, silence is not an escape, it is sovereignty. It is the mother tongue of people who have stopped needing to prove themselves to anyone at all. Silence unsettles because it pushes the other person into direct contact with their own thoughts, their private static. That tension exposes more about them than any list of arguments you could assemble. You never have to justify why you stepped away. Your very absence does the explaining. Those who feel rattled by that gap declare how deeply they relied on your imbalance to keep their own tight grip. Yet the strongest quiet is not the kind that shakes someone else. It is the quiet that rebuilds you from the inside out. In that hush, you reach a space untouched by outside approval. Only there do you begin scooping up your scattered life force, stitching it back to your essence. Cutting the external racket is not the full answer, though. You must relearn how to guide your energy on purpose, where it flows, where it rests, and, most crucially, where it should never seep away again. That lesson is pure selection of the soul. Understanding all this in your head means nothing if, in daily life, you still nod yes while wanting to shout no, still answer messages that wear you down, still take part in hollow exchanges, still cling to relationships kept alive by sheer inertia. Awareness without decisive motion turns into a fresh layer of self-deception. Real change takes root only when you commit to becoming selective. This calls for emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability has nothing to do with turning cold or arrogant. It has everything to do with refusing to stand open to anyone, at any hour, for any whim. It is the choice to run your own energy, your own moments, your own calm. And it starts with small, practical moves. Do not hit reply the instant a notification pings. Give yourself one deeper breath before any response. Step out of a heated talk before it drags you into chaos. Power down your phone at night without a flicker of guilt. Say, not today. Say, I'm not interested. Say, I won't get drawn in. The key point: no one needs a long explanation. You owe only yourself. Many people will find that unforgivable, because when you stop explaining, you strip away their lever to keep you trapped in the old storyline of being forever helpful, forever reachable. Carl Jung observed that every journey toward individuation passes through isolation, yet not a gloomy isolation. It is a sacred withdrawal, a deliberate retreat where you relearn the sound of your own heartbeat without the world's clamor. There, you rebuild an identity grounded in your core rather than in someone else's gaze. Want a quick measure of how far you have come? Watch who drifts from you once you grow more reserved. Notice who pokes harder when you do not react. Observe who claims you have changed when you finally set a guardrail. These are signals, not that you have stumbled, but that you have begun to unshackle yourself. At first, unavailability stings. Old guilt whispers that you are selfish, harsh, too detached. That friction is part of tearing down the prior conditioning that taught you to file yourself into second place. Discomfort shows up both in you and in anyone who once tasted comfort from your lack of boundaries. Yet conscious unavailability is the bedrock of self-determination. Each time you tell the noisy world no, you're publicly telling yourself yes. Each step away from a toxic circle is proof that your peace is worth more than any thin imitation of connection. And when you stop delivering long explanations, genuine respect begins to stir. Maybe not from crowds, yet always from those who matter. Still, do not expect everyone to cheer. Your emotional absence forces them to feel wounds they would rather hide, forcing them to see how much they depended on your chaos to feel in charge. That is when the rupture arrives, painful, lonely, disorienting. It may look as though you are losing something, although in truth you are peeling off old restraints. So what comes next? What rises after the distancing, after the storms of accusation, after the door closes and the room falls quiet? That question brings us to the rebirth born only in those bold enough to be misunderstood, willing to stand alone, ready to fuse themselves into steady wholeness. Break free, and the first presence you meet is silence, an uneasy hush that howls in your chest. You wonder if you went too far, if your edges are too sharp, if friends are slipping away. Slowly, though, that same hush begins to soothe, begins to clear, begins to stitch up thin places. Then arrives solitude, not absence, but a full presence, your own. It is the solitude of the strong, one who will not betray their inner compass for a seat at someone else's table. Confusion gives way to clarity, anxiety thins into calm, hunger swaps for a new kind of power, the power of standing complete inside your own skin. Jung explained that individuation demands stepping back from the swarm, disconnecting from the borrowed mask, and walking alone for a stretch. That retreat is exactly what you enact when you choose unavailability. You are not escaping the world, you are simply returning home. In that move, you stop being a reactor and start being a creator. No longer sculpted by random events, you shape events from within. People rattled by your absence reveal that they never wanted you. They wanted their required role filled. Now that you no longer fit the costume, they feel lost about how to engage, and that revelation frees you. Yes, you will lose certain faces, yet you will gain yourself. You will step away from familiar rooms, yet reconnect with your deepest current. You might become misunderstood, but that misunderstanding lays the foundation for real respect. When you refuse to stand ready for every request, you turn rare, valuable, unforgettable. Do not mistake this for an ending, it is a beginning. It marks the launch of a life in which you no longer accept emotional crumbs, mind games, or empty gestures dressed up as affection. Now you welcome only what aligns with your calm, your truth, your wholeness. If you are still here, listening, it means a part of you is already prepared for this road. A part of you knows that chasing approval counts for nothing if the price is abandoning yourself. Genuine self-love starts the second you choose you, even if that selection leaves you on your own a while. So share your decision. Write, "I choose my peace" below if this message rings true. Let's see how many are brave enough for the leap. And keep watching the next video. It matters more than you might guess. See you there. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.